Hey guys, Dr. Joe Rangel, the bodybuilding PhD. I want to talk to you today how some of you are sabotaging the shit out of your relationships. So I'm a research psychologist and an ex-cop, and I specialize in trauma and men's mental health. So here, see the coin? I'm not going to do a magic trick. See the coin? Okay. I'm going to move the coin. Are you fooled? Do you think the coin stopped existing? No, you know the coin's still there. You're not fooled, right? It's right here. Just because I took it off the screen doesn't mean you don't know that it's still there. Doesn't matter if I go up, doesn't matter if I go to the side. That's a thing called object permanence. It's a psychological trait that humans have when they reach a certain age, where you know that just because you can't see something, it's still there. Actually, babies lack object permanence, which is why when mom leaves the room, some of them start to scream because they don't know that mom still exists. So there's a thing called emotional permanence. And it goes like this. Here's the affection your partner shows you. The I love yous, the text messages, all the flowery stuff that you love or like, right? And your partner has a really bad day for whatever reason. And their morning text message is a little bit late, or it's not quite as I love you as it normally is. It's just, hey, how are you? So the presence of their affection has gone off the screen. If you lack emotional permanence, this will freak you out because you are not aware, or at least your brain isn't, that the affection is still there. They're telling you, I love you, everything's fine, they're giving you all the reinforcement you need. That reinforcement is gone and they're emotionally unavailable, and you freak out. Now, that is a thing called anxious attachment. It's most commonly seen in women, but it certainly happens in men. I know for a fact because I'm somebody with anxious attachment. It can be mitigated. It can be trained to be worked through. Anxious attachment almost always comes from some type of childhood trauma where you were supposed to be cared for by somebody or taken care of by somebody and they didn't do a good job in that. And so it left you doing things to try and receive that person's love or receive that person's affection. And if you're a guy, you're like, oh no, my childhood was perfect. Probably not. So here's the thing. If you've got an anxious attachment and you send your partner and good morning, baby, and they just respond with good morning, as opposed to good morning, baby, or good morning, love, or whatever they normally say, the person with anxious attachment is immediately going to start to spin and say, oh my God, what's going on? What have I done wrong? Why don't they love me anymore? Is there something wrong? Is she going to leave me? Are we about to break up? For those of you without anxious attachment, this probably sounds crazy, right? Believe me, for those of us with anxious attachment, it feels crazy. And it's a constant cycle of going out and in and out and in. She loves me, she doesn't. Hot, cold, hot, cold. It's exhausting. And unfortunately, if you have anxious attachment and you follow your brain's instincts, you're going to sabotage your relationship. Because what the anxious attachment reaction is going to cause you to do is a couple things. Either love bomb the person with all the just huge amounts of text messages, I love you, blah, 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 showing up at their work, doing everything you can to try and get that affection response that you feel like you're missing, which is going to be annoying for them. It's smothering for them, right? And it's exhausting for you because you're chasing. And it makes your partner feel like, oh my God, I have to keep reassuring this guy. I have to keep giving him love when I don't feel like it. Because people have the right to be emotionally unavailable sometimes, right? They can be suffering grief. They could be suffering stress. They might just not feel it, right? And they might not be there. But when you're with anxious attachment, you're demanding it at all times. And that's exhausting. Or the other thing you do is you shut down and become passive aggressive. And you say, well, if they're not going to give me their love, I'm not going to give them anything. It's almost avoidant. It's almost avoidant. But the hope, what you're doing this for, is the hope that they're going to see how you've pulled away and they're suddenly going to be, oh my God, I love you, I miss you, right? Either one of these is toxic behavior, okay? And I understand why you're doing it, but we need to learn how to manage it. What we need to learn how to do is say, okay, here's my partner and she loves me and she's emotionally unavailable right now because whatever, she suffered a death in the family. She still loves me. It's still there. It's right here. Okay. And it will come back. So there's a million books out there, some really good. And there's experts out there who specialize in attachment styles, avoidant attachment, anxious attachment, secure attachment, and all the sub-styles in between. I certainly am not an attachment expert, but I do know a little bit about anxious attachment. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on the fact, we're going to try and remember that when you're anxiously attached, you are self-focused. I'm not going to go as far as to say self-centered. I'm not going to go as far as to say selfish, but you are self-focused. Because what you're doing by going after them and giving them all this love and giving them the roses or love bombing them or doing whatever, is you're trying to get them to make your anxiety go away. You're focused on making yourself feel better, right? And so if this person is dealing with, say, grief or trauma, instead of us, the anxious attached, saying, this person's going through some shit right now. Maybe I need to give them some space. Maybe that's what they need. Maybe I need to be there for them. We start getting focused on what they can do for us, right? I'm not saying we're bad people. Okay, I'm not saying that we're selfish people. This is a reaction in our brains for something that happened to us earlier. One of the ways we can start to mitigate anxious attachment is when that happens, tell ourselves, okay, my brain is lying to me. My brain is lying to me. And then to try and focus on what's going on with them. Find the reason that is causing the emotional unavailability. And it could be as simple as they were rushing to work and they didn't have time to text you. Find that reason and ask yourself, is that more reasonable than they went from I love you yesterday to nothing today? Okay. We'll talk more about anxious attachment and what you can do to mitigate it in the coming videos. Anyway, I hope that was helpful to you guys. Drop a comment or a question in the DMs below. I love to hear from you guys, and I love you. I'll talk to you soon.